AI is getting more expensive to build with every month. Now you might be thinking, that can't be right. Most AI platforms have cheaper models now. Model capability per dollar has improved massively. The numbers are public, the trend is real. But that is exactly the trap. Cheaper models and cheaper builds are not the same thing, because the workflows users actually want now are not simple chatbot replies. They want agents, long context research, background automation. A chatbot might call a model once. An agent can call it 20 times, 50 times, sometimes more. So, yes, AI may be cheaper on paper, but in production, the build can move in the opposite direction. And that is where the real story begins. Because it is quietly squeezing a group almost nobody talks about, the AI middle class. The AI middle class is the most ignored layer of this entire ecosystem. It includes indie developers, solopreneurs, two-person startups, and small SaaS teams. These are the people sitting between the frontier AI companies building the models and the end users getting polished AI products. And they are the ones quietly carrying the risk. They took the AI platform seriously when the message was build on our models, use our APIs, create the next generation of AI apps. And they actually did it. They built entire product lines around AI, often for niche workflows and customer problems that the big platforms may never directly prioritize. But underneath all of those products was one fragile assumption. The cost of intelligence would keep falling fast enough for their margins to survive. And for a while, that sounded reasonable. Compute gets cheaper, storage gets cheaper, bandwidth gets cheaper. So developers assumed AI would follow the same curve, down and to the right. But AI products have a catch. The price of one model call may go down, but the number of model calls needed to deliver one useful result keeps going up. And once you understand that, the pricing story starts to look very different. So now we need to separate two things that often get mixed together: the price of reaching a certain AI capability and the cost of running a real AI product. On the first one, the progress is obvious. A few years ago, if you wanted strong reasoning, writing, summarization, or coding help, you usually had to use the most expensive frontier models available. Today, for many tasks, similar capability can often come from much cheaper models. Stanford's 2025 AI Index found that the inference cost for a system performing at GPT 3.5 level dropped more than 280 times between late 2022 and late 2024. Epoch AI found a similar direction. The cost to reach fixed AI performance milestones has been falling rapidly, though not evenly across every task. So yes, the pricing pages are showing real progress. AI capability has become much cheaper, but that only explains one part of the story. Because a product build depends on more than the model you choose. It also depends on how much context you send, how much output comes back, how many tools the system calls, and how much retrying happens before the user gets the result. That is the part most pricing discussions miss. The model may be cheaper than before, but the workflow around the model is getting heavier. So even if the model is cheaper, the final product can still become more expensive to run. That is how something can look cheap on a pricing page and still feel expensive in production. And the clearest example of this is agents. Agents are where this cost problem becomes visible. Because an agent is not just a smarter chatbot, it is a workflow machine. It plans, searches, reads files, invokes tools, checks its own work, and sometimes restarts when the first attempt fails. Every extra step adds cost in tokens, time, tool usage, retries, longer context, and background execution the user may never see. That is why agent pricing feels different. The user is not just asking for an answer anymore. They are asking the system to complete a task, fix the bug, review the PR, prepare the report. And these kinds of tasks are harder to price. Anthropic's managed agents pricing shows this direction clearly. Standard cloud platform token rates apply, plus active runtime pricing at $0.08 per session hour. And once pricing shifts from simple tokens to full workflows, the pressure builds very quickly. Not just for small builders, even inside big companies. Recently, you might have come across the Microsoft story. Microsoft reportedly started removing most internal Claude Code licenses in parts of the company and moving many developers toward GitHub Copilot CLI. Officially, the reason was standardizing workflows around Copilot CLI, but reports also describe the move as financial. You might have also seen the Uber story. Uber's president and COO reportedly said the company had burned through its annual AI budget just 4 months into 2026. And again, the concern was not simply how engineers were using AI. The concern was whether all that AI usage was turning into enough real product value. And that is the signal. If companies like Microsoft, owner of GitHub, Azure, and Copilot, and large technology-driven companies like Uber are watching agentic AI costs closely, what happens to a small startup paying public API prices? For Microsoft, this may be tool consolidation. For Uber, this may be budget discipline. But for a small startup, it can be survival. It can decide whether the product has margins or whether every happy power user becomes a reason your product loses money. But cost is only one side of the problem. The other side is power. Because once you build on someone else's platform, you are not just buying infrastructure, you are building inside rules you do not control. And those rules can change faster than builders can plan around them. We saw this recently with Claude. In my last video, I covered Claude's subscription changes in detail, how third-party and programmatic Claude usage became separate from normal chat usage. And that matters here because it shows the platform trap in real time. For a normal user, it may look like just another pricing update, but for builders, it can change the economics overnight. A workflow that felt affordable yesterday can move into a separate credit system tomorrow. A product priced for one cost structure can suddenly be forced into another. And then the builder has only 3 choices: absorb the cost, pass it to users, or reduce the feature. That is the real impact of frequent plan changes. It affects invoices, yes, but it also affects user experience, third-party tools, workflows, and whether small AI products can keep serving the users who depend on them. So if you have not watched that Claude pricing video, watch it after this one, because it connects directly to what we are talking about here. And if you want more breakdowns like this, where we go beyond the announcement and look at what it actually means for builders and users, subscribe to Sunny on AI. Now, Claude is only one example. The bigger pattern is platform power. Take OpenAI as an example. It sells API access to builders, but it also sells ChatGPT directly to consumers and enterprises. The same pattern applies to Anthropic with Claude and Google with Gemini across its product stack. So if you are a small AI builder, the situation becomes complicated. You may be paying the platform to build your product, while that same platform is also building products for the same type of customer you want to reach. This does not mean the platforms are doing something illegal. This is how platforms usually evolve. Amazon Marketplace enabled sellers, then learned which categories were profitable. Apple built the App Store ecosystem, then launched its own apps and services inside it. Platforms often start by helping builders create value. Then they move closer to where the value is highest. AI is starting to show the same pattern. That is why this squeeze is not only about cost, it is about leverage. The people who control the platform have more options. The people building on top of it have fewer. And that difference decides who survives. So who survives this squeeze? Not necessarily the builder with the best demo. Not even always the builder with the best idea. The builders who survive are the ones who understand the economics underneath the product. Because in this next phase of AI, product quality alone is not enough. You need cost discipline, model routing, caching, usage gaps, fallback models, clear boundaries around what the AI should and should not do. The strongest AI products will not use one expensive model for everything. They will use the right model for the right job. A cheaper model for simple tasks. A stronger model for reasoning. Caching for repeated work. Batching for non-urgent jobs. Usage limits for heavy users. That is what separates a demo from a business. A demo only has to work once. A business has to work every day for every user without destroying its own margins. So no, this is not necessarily the end of indie AI development, but it may be the end of lazy AI product economics. The next wave of AI builders will not just need better prompts, they will need better business models. So maybe the question is not whether AI is getting cheaper. Maybe the real question is, cheaper for whom? For users, AI may feel more powerful than ever. For big companies, it may become another cost they can negotiate, optimize, and absorb. But for small builders, the equation is different. Every model choice matters, every workflow matters, every heavy user matters, and every platform change can affect the business underneath. So, are we watching the quiet end of indie AI development? Or are we watching the beginning of a more disciplined kind of AI builder? One who understands not just prompts and products, but pricing, infrastructure, and margins. That is the question I want to leave you with. If you are building with AI APIs right now, tell me what you are seeing. Are your costs actually going down? Or are your bills going up because users expect more agentic work? Drop your experience in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want more AI analysis like this, not just what changed, but what it means, subscribe to Sunny on AI. Till then, take care. See you next week.